you did.
Everyone may make a motion to amend the agenda.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would make a motion that due to unforeseen circumstances, and particularly the weather, not able to meet tomorrow, I move that we amend the agenda to take care of the action items that are on for tomorrow.
Second the motion.
All in there.
Aye.
Okay. So these are the ones that are on the agenda for tomorrow. We moved up to today.
Yeah, and the one I have ready is, there are two quitclaim deeds. It's tied up with the project ITD at 25th East and Highway 26. What it is there were parcels along 25th East that were acquired by ITD in Bonneville County's names. However, as part of this, since it's now in Bonneville County's name, the diversified metal adjacent to this would like to buy the remainder that was not needed for the right of way. So we bought the entire parcel, but there's a small portion of the lot that is where the monument place is, and the run right behind it. Those small remnants are now going to be, as part of this, trying to get it sold by ITD back to Diversified Metals so they can expand their property line just a little bit. So that's both of the quitclaim deeds.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense to me.
There, all three of your signatures on there.
So it's gonna be a project next year. Will they be doing all the work next year?
They will not be doing the project next year. They're hoping, I think, in 2026
Okay.
to do the actual road construction, but this just, they're probably gonna end up, the monument place probably gonna relocate, and that's probably gonna be happening sooner than later.
Okay.
Coming on 45th East.
They did not get Lincoln Roundabout open back up.
Oh, dear.
They are out there today, this afternoon. If it clears up, they will get it paved. They're getting ready to, they've got some curb and gutter from Lincoln Road up to the railroad tracks. They've got some more to do. They're hoping to pave the main line on 45th East from Lincoln Road to the railroad tracks on October 16th.
So they're not gonna try to go to Iona.
They are. So they're hoping to pave that first half mile to the railroad tracks as they're continuing to work on the 16th. When they're paving the main line, they're also going to be trying to do the curb and gutter from there to Iona Road, and then paving that probably within 2 weeks after, so by the end of October.
Including the intersection, or
Including the intersection, the roundabout at Iona Road.
seems like quite a bit of extra.
By the end of, well, it'd probably be the first week of November. They're hoping to have that done.
Here's the dust and snow first.
It better not.
Well, after this mess goes through, it looks like it's supposed to be pretty nice for a while.
Pretty nice for a while, yeah.
You ever get a report on the leachate level?
I have not got a hold of Larry yet, no,
Okay,
and I haven't heard anything back from Stephanie yet, so.
yeah, I don't know how. Went through wind, but it got pretty soggy yesterday morning. We were trying to make potatoes, and then last night they're really dumped.
Yeah, it's soggy everywhere, so.
Yes.
That's it.
It is apparently.
Including Austin's
We
inspector.
lost an inspector.
We had to
Palisades
pull an
today.
inspector out of Palisades today. The tow truck.
He slipped off.
Well, he went down to do an inspection.
Oh, so
Down
he
into
was
the
on
property. Yeah,
On the driveway?
it was Jordan, and out, I told Jordan today, I'm like, out of all people, I was like, I would have thought you wouldn't have went down if you didn't think it was safe. He's like, well, I was on the side of the road. He's like, I got out of the truck, I stepped a few steps down the driveway and I'm like, oh, this will be fine. He's like, it wasn't bad at all. And then he got down in there and when he was walking around, he's like, this is so slick. Yeah, he was buried up to his axles and he's like, every time I tried to I would make some headway to get out. He's like, I just kept sliding down more. And he's like, by the end, I was getting really close to the foundation of the building I inspected. So he called me, I'm like, just call the tow truck.
Can you build them for soil compaction?
Yeah.
'Cause won't have to compact the
So
soil.
he finally got out, but he said it was just like, I mean, he's like, it was almost like peanut butter.
Yeah,
Like, he's like, I wasn't necessarily sinking
More
super
peanut
deep,
butter.
but he just kept sliding layer after layer. So,
What else we got?
You wanna talk about Eagle Pass and figuring out what. In a meeting minute entry, what we're responsible for and what we're not responsible for what happened from,
We better get Kayla back in here.
yeah.
There's a discussion. She was coming back, but she just making copies for you.
No, she has to notarize
Oh,
that,
okay.
so.
Um. Yeah, did they get all the work done on the culvert and everything?
They're not done with it, I don't think. This rain slowed them up some. They were working on it yesterday. I don't know if they finished it
yeah, I
today.
went up.
I heard that you went up and they were in the pickup during the rainstorm, so.
They all got out to talk to me. I got out, walked over to the door. So they could roll the window down, cause I knew, I mean.
Yeah.
Take a break and get out of the warm, I get that, and they all got out, came and stood in the rain and talked. I mean, it's like, then I felt bad, cause I had a hat on.
So I don't know. if
Oh,
they're
and your
done,
grader,
but
I
they-
was gonna tell you, I don't know who was running the grader up there. Young kid, looked young,
I think Taylor was up there. That's
Um,
not his normal area, but
doing an excellent job. Seriously.
Okay.
All the way down and back up, he graded down. Where the new gutter work was, borrow pit work was done. And did it perfectly. I mean, I don't know how anybody could complain about what he did. I'm serious. He did a great job. And,
Stan will find out.
well, I don't know that, seriously, I think
Yeah.
Stan will go, why can't you do that all the time? He was doing a great job, so,
I'll pass that on.
okay.
You think it's gonna help? Lance?
What Stan did?
Yeah.
So afterwards, I found out that Stan went back in and that 18-inch pipe. He ended up blocking it and burying it. That smaller 18-inch pipe that we put across his approach, he totally buried it.
He did.
Yeah. And he caught KR up there with the other guys and said, well, I want a 24-inch in here. And the problem with putting a 24-inch pipe is you have to bury it
raise it.
so low to get the cover
Yeah,
that
I thought
all
we
it is
already-
is silt in.
We already had that discussion. We did.
Yeah,
We did, but he doesn't like it, and so he filled in totally that 18-inch pipe, and so what he's doing for the gutter along here may catch the water off the road, but it won't catch any water down from above because he blocked the pipe.
well, that'll all go out in this field.
And
Well,
that's,
it will go out in this field
and
now.
that's all I
That's how he
want.
did it, so that's okay.
That's all I want in the minutes is because he has a tendency to go from one to the next.
Yeah.
We're trying it. If it fails, anything in there is his responsibility.
Well, and Stan did the work, so he's diverting that upper drainage out into his field, and what he worked on is just gonna be the lower portion.
Well, that's, cause I don't wanna have to go back in and maintain the berm that's on his fence, because
Right.
then there's the risk of
And that's
damage.
what Kayla needs to get into the meeting minutes, so.
So, that's, we're gonna see if this works. if it fails, I don't wanna be responsible for going in there. and Having to constantly rebuild something that has other points of failure, you just pointed out another one. But when he consciously buries one of our culverts, shouldn't he have to fix it?
I would think that he would be on the hook to fix it if he's the one that buried it.
The thing is if it's the culvert I'm remembering, it was entering his field, right? That's how.
Well,
So there's
the one
two-
that goes-
there's
the
two
upper
culverts.
one, the lower one goes into his field, the upper one went above the fence line, and it was blocked when we were up there looking at it.
Yeah,
And we were gonna go up there and clean it out to hopefully get into this gutter that he
yeah,
cleaned out, but he's buried it totally.
he buried the one
The end
that
of it.
went long.
Yeah,
Have you been up to look at it?
I have not been up to look at it. I just,
Because it was not noticeably more buried than, I mean, his skid steer had been in and out of it or whatever he was
Yeah.
doing this with. But it, I mean, it wasn't like,
You said our
was.
guys were gonna uncover it.
well, that's, I stopped and talked to them on the way back, and they were gonna go down and uncover it and with rocks and, you know,
on the downstream side or the upstream side?
well, I assumed they were gonna do the rocks on the upstream side, but the downstream side was the one that was blocked.
Yeah, I know. That's
So
I haven't been
I,
there to see.
and they said he's covered that in. And I said, well, it was covered in when we were up here looking at it after the last storm. It had completely filled. in-
There wasn't much
filled in
left
with
of it.
mud,
Yeah, it was
so-
more than 3/4 filled.
Yeah,
in.
it was. But if he's made it worse by getting this skid steer in there, I don't know.
So did they take a bucket out and clean it out, or they just
I
leave it the
don't
way it
know.
was?
I don't know.
I'll drive up tomorrow, and look. What the heck?
You know, I just kind of want to have an end to these test projects that constantly keeps coming this with.
Yeah.
And then, you know, my fear is when he designed it, put some of the dirt in the berm on his fence,
Yeah,
that we're not responsible for any damage to his fence. But, you know, and then normal maintenance, you know, when you have to pull the shoulders up. You know, and they can probably improve the way they do that, you know.
and especially in this area, we will be essentially not pulling up on there. Cause all that would do is disturb any of the seating that went in.
But he's also got to realize when you bring more stuff up, you're gonna widen the surface of the road as you plow it off and plow it back.
Yeah.
So. That's my concern. Just
Well, I don't know how you want Kayla to word that in the minute entry, but
She's good at that. And then we'll review it.
Okay.
The one thing that was fairly obvious to me was that where it's burned up along his fence line. That's probably the weak point in what was done, and
if
if it were me, I'd have put some up on the other side to reinforce that, but that's probably
well,
where it's gonna end up out in his field, and it's his field, and he did it.
that's,
Well, and one of the purposes of trying to divert that south is so that it doesn't run all the way down and then do damage on the bone road. You know, the
Right.
bottom of that,
Kepps Road.
the Kepps Road, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully it'll work. If we can get more
So-
to the south, that's better.
Where he's got that diversion ditch that he graded down to, and if you saw it.
Yeah.
It goes down to a low point in the field, but I'm afraid that it's just gonna pond up in the field. And not go anywhere until it finds a weak spot, and then it's gonna go even more volume down the Kepps
well,
faster. Cause he's graded this to a point where it's a little valley there.
right.
And so it's gonna pond up there and
You don't
create a
think that's
small
gonna
lake.
work like a catch basin and hold a certain volume?
It will, that's what I'm saying, it's gonna hold a big volume there until it find a weak spot to go further down.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of like those, you know, when we used to put those dams up down a wash.
Yeah,
You know,
but he
that's-
doesn't have a dam at the far, the southern, the end of that.
Well, and the only risk is we cut down through the dirt, have a big release, but
Have a big release down towards Kepps.
just let it be noted that you don't think it's gonna succeed. We let him try.
And I'm glad,
I just don't wanna be responsible for fixing it the way he fixed it, if it's not gonna work.
No, we're not, yeah. We're not accepting it, saying that we're gonna keep it this way forever.
Yeah.
This was a try to see if it would work, and I told him, if you guys remember, I told him, I don't think this will work. You know, you're not gonna be able to hold that. Well, I told him that's why we wouldn't do it, and that's when he said, I'll do it. Okay. And I'll, and so. Yeah, I told him, but I didn't think we,
And you also
Great,
told him you didn't think he had enough room
yes, I
to
did.
create that wide of a ditch, and he doesn't. Because it's not. Without piling dirt on the fence,
Right,
he couldn't do it.
right, and that's when he agreed to do it, and he'll pile it on the fence. Yeah, so we'll see if it'll work. Judd did get it planted, it's planting grass, and I did check with him, he said it was a couple hours, he said, it's not that big an area.
Yeah.
And he had the seed, he did borrow the planter from Jefferson County, it's one you pull behind a four-wheeler, it's 4 feet wide, he said it was just perfect. And he would like to see us get one of those. He said it's really, really a handy tool, so.
If that grass doesn't come with the timing and everything, and then this rain, it's not gonna.
yeah, cause this
Come
is
in that area.
perfect.
It just concerns me if we get a gully washer next spring. It'll wash out, there won't be enough sod there. to hold it. It's gonna take
Couple of years.
a year at least to establish. So,
I think that's what I said.
yeah,
You need to sod this if you want it to work,
yeah, exactly.
at least.
But then to get sod to take, you gotta keep it wet till the roots go down, and so
That's why right now, would be the time to just strip sod it, then.
what else we got?
That's what was on the agenda to talk about.
Okay, let's wrap that
Got
up.
anything else? I don't have anything.